Okay, you're on.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool. All right. So we're on week 6. I say we're halfway, but I actually think we have 13 weeks total, so we're almost halfway through. But week 6, is everybody getting the workouts in on the sheet that I'm giving you? Yes? It's okay if you're not, all right? But, huh? All right. Well, I can email it to you, and she always posts it on Facebook. Okay. So are you in the Milford News? All right. Remind me, Becky or I email it to you every week. She asked me for it, she always posts it on Facebook and whatnot. But I went to looking through things, and what I hear a lot about is oh, I can never be a runner. So I'm like, okay, what are some of the things that people say, and what are some of the myths about running, right? This technically is a running group. I'm giving you a lot of different things. Again, introducing you to different types of exercises. Next week, we're going to have yoga, because I'm not going to be here. So we're going to have a yoga-led time. So we've had Zumba, we've done different weight training things. Last week was all core exercises, so if you missed the core stuff, what? Anybody hurt after last week's?
Yeah.
Do what?
Do some abs today, please.
We can do some abs today. We don't have the mats, but hey, we got carpet, we're good. So I started Googling some of the myths about running. What do people say? Why can't I be a runner? So I listed 10 here. 1, you need to have a runner's body. You don't have to have a runner's body. All right, anybody can actually go and run. How many people have seen amputees running? Right? They don't. They could not have a leg, and they can still go run. People who are paraplegic, they're considered runners if they go and do races. They're usually do really big races, marathons and whatnot. They'll have a wheelchair segment. They go first, but they're considered runners. They're considered athletes because they're doing a road race. All right, so anybody can run. You do not have to be the runner's body. Anybody ever heard of the soccer body? Female soccer. I've been told I have a soccer body because I have short legs. It's a shame. But I still run, right? So anybody can run. It doesn't matter what shape, size you are. Everybody can do it. It just takes conditioning. We talked a little bit about shoes before, and I love this one. It says a pricier shoe is not necessarily better. If you are serious about getting into running and you're going to be doing 5Ks or races or even beyond, if you have a goal of doing a half marathon or a marathon by the end of the year, go and spend some money on shoes. Get good shoes. Get your foot fitted for the right shoe. I don't know if you guys remember, and I said this in the very beginning, I went through 5 different pairs of running shoes before I found the ones that worked for me. Now I'm just going to go online and buy 7 pairs of them because they work. Just because you go out and drop $150 on a pair of shoes doesn't mean that they're good for your foot. You can find a $30 pair. You just have to make sure that it fits your foot. And there's 2 different places I can recommend you to. But have a professional check how you walk. So what your gait is, and then what your foot strike is. Some people are heel runner, heel toe. Some people run on their toes. If you're interested in minimalists or running barefoot, go see a professional about that to make sure that that's going to be okay. You have to kind of ease into that. But just get a decent pair of shoes that fit your foot. That's the key thing. Fit is better than price. Okay? Running in the cold will damage your lungs. You go out and you run in the cold, or you do anything out in the cold, your lungs start to burn, correct? Alright, so basically that's just because it's so cold, it's cold moisture getting into your lungs. It's not going to damage them. You will recover. It may make it a little bit harder to breathe, but it's perfectly fine. I ran a 4-mile race on Valentine's Day, and it was 10 degrees. It was cold. I told my boyfriend on the way over, I said, if it's not double degrees by the time we get to the race, I am not running. It was 9 when we got in the car, and it was 10 when we got out of the car. So I had to run the race. And it was cold, and my lungs burned, but there's no damage that can be done. And it's so cold out. I feel this is way too cold for this time of day. I ran this morning, and it was cold. Running is bad for your knees. Just like with your shoes, or, I don't have the runner body, that's not the case either. It's all about conditioning. So if you do have proper shoes, and you are conditioned, then your knees are going to be fine. How many people have heard, don't go running, it's bad for your knees? Anybody? All the time. Like, your knees are going to be shot by the time you're older. I know my mother's 63 years old. She's running a 10-mile road race with me next Sunday. That's why I won't be here this weekend. And her knees are fine. She's been running for 20-something years. And she didn't start running until she was 45 years old. Or 40. Maybe she's been running exactly 41 years. We figured out. So it's not bad for your knees. You have to take care of them. All right? Anybody heard that you should stop exercising once you become pregnant? I know, they tell you this all the time, right? You should never change what you're currently doing. And so if you know people who are pregnant, or you're trying to become pregnant, or you are pregnant, I don't think anybody in here is, keep doing what you're doing. So don't start a rigorous workout program, or if your friends say, oh, you know, I'm pregnant, I gotta stop working out and lay with my feet up or something. Like, don't change what you're currently doing, right? So if you are a runner, go run. I got beat by a woman on my half marathon who, I think it was like 2 weeks before she ran the half marathon with me. Now, this is a year and a half ago. She gave birth while running a full marathon. She was like at mile 20. She was 9 months. She had to stop because she went into labor. And then 2 weeks later, she was pushing her infant, or her baby, brand new baby, through the half marathon that I was running, and she came in before me. I know. She put me to shame. So she was pushing a stroller with her like 10-pound baby that she popped out 2 weeks before, and beat me. Made me feel great. Okay. Yeah. So don't worry. Again, if you know anybody or if people say that to you, just be like whatever. Just go do your exercise. Don't change your program. Who's heard of carb loading? Okay. So then, here's the thing. The night before our race in June, do not go out and have a gigantic bowl of pasta. Okay? Carb loading is a myth when it comes to short races. I did a little bit of research about time frame. So if you are going to go run a marathon, then yes, you can go out and have some extra carbs. But anything under 2 hours of a race, which our 5K, 45 minutes to an hour for people who are walking, you do not need to go carb load. If you want to have a little bowl of pasta, that's great. My father used to tell me before basketball games the night before, here is a big bowl of pasta. And then I would feel like crap in the morning, and it makes you really like lethargic and just like thin, right? You feel run down after you go have a big Italian meal. So don't carb load before a big run. You don't need it. For 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, you don't need it. The night before my half marathon, I had a 4-ounce filet, a bunch of vegetables, and a glass of wine. Perfectly fine. So don't go carb loading. Dr. Brian, when he was here the first day, he talks about this. Runners should stretch daily. Stretching is not necessarily going to be great for running. It's good flexibility, okay? And you also don't want to stretch cold. He talks about doing a little bit of a warm-up. So stretching is great, but it's not something that runners have to do, all right? It's not going to be injury prevention. Does everybody still have those sheets that he handed out? I'm not going to talk about that too much, but it is a myth that you have to go, you do a little warm-up, and you have to sit there and do all the stretching. I actually don't stretch. I stretch afterwards if I feel like some aches and pains or whatnot, but I don't stretch before I go running. You have to run every day to get better. It's actually not the case. The full Couch to 5K program, if you are on the app or if you've gone to the website, you're only running 3 days a week. That's it. 3 days a week to train for a 5K. I have you running 3 days a week and 2 days of weight training in here. But if you didn't want to do the weight training part and you want to just do the running, you only have to run 3 days a week to get to a certain point. If you want to go elite and you want to run further, you can run more. When I did my half marathon training, it was 2 short days of running. So a half marathon is 13.1 miles. So my short days were usually only about 3 or 4 miles. There was a little bit of one longer day. One day that was for speed, so like 2 miles as fast as you can. And then long runs on Saturdays or Sundays. And every week I increased my long run by 1 mile, and I did it for 12 weeks leading up to a 13-mile race. And I had 2 days off. 2 days off in the week. So I was only running 5 days a week or 1 day of weight training in there. So you don't have to run every single day to be a good runner. You just have to run. Does that make sense? Who's heard all the time you should eat bananas? I've been said it in class, right? So, potassium. Potassium is great if you get muscle cramps. What is the #1 cause of muscle cramps? Dehydration. And, again, how much water should we be drinking every day? Oh, so good. Yeah, so have bananas if you would like it, but don't think that if you get a muscle cramp, then you should go eat like a whole bunch of bananas. Drink water first, okay? Not so sure. I don't know if it hurt. I have no idea. I want to think that later will be rehydrated though. People will try the craziest things. Yes. I just eat food. I don't know. I mean, a dietitian may know that better than I would, but I don't. Running is supposed to be hard. My last little bit. How many think running is hard? Yes? Running does not have to be hard, okay? If you hate it, and you're gonna think in your head it's hard, but if you're huffing and puffing and you're really dying, slow down, run at a decent pace for you, and find what works to kind of keep you in the zone. I have a very specific playlist that I listen to. I also cannot go and run a race. Has anybody seen like when people have those crazy outfits on, like you dress up for races, like Pirate Day, right? There might be some pirate people, and they wear tutus and they have head things on and they have makeup all over. They're running costumes. I watched a guy on a Christmas run wear a Christmas tree, a real Christmas tree. He like dug out some branches and carried an entire decorated Christmas tree on a 5K race. Oh no, it was the turkey run up in Manchester. It's a Manchester 5-miler. He carried a Christmas tree. That's not fun to me. I'm very specific about my races and my running. I wear the same pants, I wear the same shirt, I wear my armbands here, I have to have headphones at work, and I do not dress up. I have to be comfortable to go out and run, because I want it to be fun. If I'm wearing other things like that, I am miserable. So running doesn't have to, I know, running doesn't have to be hard, you just have to make it fun for you. And then again, if you don't like running, pick some of the other things that you're learning about through the training program, yoga, Zumba, weight training, and still love to get somebody in here that does boxing. So I'm going to work on that. Maybe in a couple of weeks I'll get somebody in here that does some boxing, some pads and stuff. Huh? Well, kickboxing, or I'm going to ask the woman who owns Title Boxing if she will come in, or have one of her trainers come in. So, but I also have a kickboxing / MMA fighter / self-defense. I'm going to have Adam come in 1 week too. And he'll just, about 20 minutes, teach you some like kickboxing, self-defense type thing. Anybody would like to see that? Yeah. Okay. All right, so those are some of the myths. We're halfway through. How are people doing with your running? Any problems? Any aches and pains? Of course, Crystal's been made up. Questions?
I started running that time there, and I noticed when I got home, my hips were bothering me. So I said, oh, maybe it's age. And in one place I said, but you know, or I'm just not conditioned for it. So I said to myself, I'm just going to stick to walking, because all of a sudden I was doing both hips, and I was like, either I'm running at an alarm, I just didn't know, pounding, some...
You sit a lot, right? Is it on the side or in the front?
I don't remember, because I stopped after that.
Anybody else have that problem?
Okay.
I
I didn't have both of my hips, so I was like,
So for people who sit a lot, this is your hip flexor. So if you have it in the front, okay, this is your hip flexor, and a good stretch for that is everybody do this. Put one leg in front, one leg in back. And the leg that's back, so if your right leg's back, you're gonna lift your right arm, and then just kind of stretch that way. And you should be able to stretch. It comes all the way down to the front of your hip. Yes? Does everybody feel that stretch? Okay. So if you sit a lot, right, you are deactivating your hip flexor, okay? This muscle gets short, this muscle gets long. Well, now we're asking that hip flexor to work in overdrive doing this, okay? So that could hurt. It's a conditioning thing. On the sides here also, I mean, I'm wide hipped, my knees come in, so I put a lot of pressure on my hip joints. So running can cause that to be somewhat painful. A little bit of ibuprofen and continuing through that will help alleviate it. Okay, if it gets to be too painful where you can't even stand up in the morning, you may want to go to like a chiropractor or a doctor, but
they said, okay, I should run.
Nope.
So I just
there are going to be aches and pains, and there's going to be things that you have to work through. You just have to get your body used to it. Number one reason that people stop weight training is because you're sore the next day. You're supposed to be. You're making your muscles do things it's not used to. How many times have you been sore after boot camp class? Right? There are days you can't walk. My goal at boot camp class is to make it difficult for you to pee, which means you have to do this. You can't sit down. It's a good legs workout. Huh? Yep. 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 Yes. Going upstairs is fine. Going downstairs is miserable.
I got up in the morning, I'm like, up, and I was like,
Aches and pains are normal. Sharp-shooting, debilitating pains are not normal. Alright, so gauge yourself. know, for lack of a better word, know if you're being wimpy or not, all right? And sometimes you have to push through it. Again, bruising, swelling, waking you up at night, not being able to stand in the morning, those are the kinds of things you may want to go to a doctor about. Sore, gotta push through. Like Jillian Michael would say, unless, what is it, unless you're dying, fading, dead, dying, or fainting, keep going. I think she did tell she could keep going until you're puking. If you puke and you keep going. Okay.
Okay, that's what's the other way around.
Any other questions? I mean, we're up to about 2 miles or so in the training part. You only have another mile in the next week or next month to really get up to run a 5K. So any other questions, concerns? You like it? You don't like it? So far so good? Alright, let's do a little bit of a workout. So spread out.
We're going to go for a run later.